If you dare listen to these three terrifying stories. I never believed that some things could be felt before they were understood. Until that night, the clock read 2:17 a.m. I couldn't sleep. The room was unnaturally silent, the kind of silence that rings in your ears. A light breeze was blowing outside, but the curtains weren't moving. That felt strange because at this hour, even a little wind usually makes them stir. Suddenly I felt it. I wasn't alone. The feeling wasn't familiar, but it was very clear. Like someone was watching me. I was lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I didn't want to move. A tight, heavy fear began to build in my chest. I tried to convince myself this is just my mind playing tricks. Then I heard the sound. Rustle, rustle, right under my bed. I held my breath. It didn't sound like a rat. The movement was slow, deliberate, like whatever it was knew I was awake. I slowly tried to turn to the side. At that exact moment, the sound stopped. That stopping was the most terrifying part. Because when a sound stops, it means it's no longer hiding. My eyes were adjusting to the darkness. The door was half open. I was sure I had closed it completely before going to sleep. Through the gap, I could see the hallway, but the darkness there wasn't normal. It felt thick, deep. Suddenly, a whisper drifted in from the hallway, very slowly, very close. "I know you're awake." It felt like the words were spoken directly into my ear. My body froze. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. The door slowly began to open wider. No one was pushing it. It was opening on its own, and that's when I realized this night wasn't like any other. It was the beginning of something I would never forget. Because after this moment, it would never let me be alone again. I still couldn't move. It felt like something invisible was sitting on my chest. Breathing became difficult. The door opened completely, but no one entered from the hallway. The darkness just stood there. I couldn't tell if my eyes were deceiving me or if the darkness was truly growing thicker. As if there was even more darkness inside the dark. Then a shadow fell across the hallway floor. It looked human, but not entirely. The head was unnaturally long. The arms touched the floor. It wasn't standing upright, it was bent forward. I wanted to close my eyes, but I couldn't. It was as if my eyes were being held open by their own will. The shadow slowly entered my room. No sound. No footsteps, just a strange pressure, like the air itself was getting heavier. It stopped right beside my bed. I knew then it was looking at me, even though I couldn't see its eyes. Then in a low whisper again, "Why aren't you sleeping?" The question sent a jolt through my head. I wanted to sleep, I truly did. Somehow I whispered back, "Who are you?" There was no answer at first. A few seconds later, "You were calling me." I jolted. Me? I hadn't called anyone, never. The shadow moved again, slowly. Leaning over the bed, I could feel its presence, cold, unnaturally cold, like it was draining the warmth from my body. "You can't stay alone," it said. "You stay awake at night, think, feel afraid, those are calls." Memories began flooding my mind. Countless sleepless nights, sitting in the dark with unknown fears. Thinking to myself, if only someone were here, I understood. I really had called it. The shadow moved closer. Now I could see clearly. Its face wasn't fully formed. Like someone tried to draw a face using darkness, but never finished. Suddenly, its face came right next to my ear. "I'm here now," it whispered. "Now you're not alone." Then its hand, no, something like a hand, touched my chest. I screamed. And in that exact moment, everything vanished. I suddenly sat up in bed, drenched in sweat. I looked at the clock, 2:17 a.m. the same time. So, was it all just a dream? I tried to calm myself. I looked at the door, it was closed. Everything looked normal. I lay back down. That's when I heard it, a very soft breathing sound coming from right beside my pillow, very close. I could hear the breathing clearly. It wasn't mine, because I wasn't breathing at all. Right next to the pillow near my ear, someone was breathing in and out, not warm, not cold, completely hollow, like someone was breathing through empty air. I slowly turned my eyes. There was nothing. But the sound was still there. I tried to move the pillow. That's when I realized my hand wouldn't move. My entire body was frozen again, but this time it didn't feel like sleep. I was fully awake. I recognized every corner of the room, sleep paralysis. I tried to convince myself this isn't real. It's just my mind. Right then, a whisper beside my ear, "You're lying to yourself again." This voice wasn't like before. This time it was clearer, closer. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something. The pillow was being pressed down, like someone had placed their head there, yet nothing was visible, just the pressure. Something lightly brushed against my earlobe. I realized it could touch me. Suddenly, the pressure lifted. My body was released. I immediately sat up and turned on the light. The room was empty. Everything was normal. I tried to laugh, told myself I had just been scared. Then my eyes fell on the bedsheet. On the sheet, 2 deep creases, as if someone had been lying there moments ago. I touched the sheet, cold. I didn't sleep again that night. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I worked, talked, went through the day, but inside my head, one strange sentence kept repeating. "Now you're not alone." As night fell, the unease returned. I kept all the lights on, locked the door, sat holding my phone. 2:17 a.m., the lights suddenly flickered, once, twice. Then the entire room went dark. I turned on my phone's flashlight, and that's when I saw it. In the corner of my room, where the wall meets the ceiling, something was gathered there. At first I thought it was a shadow, but shadows don't hang like that. It moved, slowly pulling itself away from the wall, descending downward. I stepped back, my leg hit the bed, I fell. It was on the floor now. This time I could see it clearly. It had no fixed shape, but when it looked at me, I felt like it had eyes. Many of them, it didn't speak, it just stared. And a thought began pounding inside my head. It didn't come here. It was already here. I just hadn't noticed. I was sitting on the floor. I didn't have the strength to stand. My phone flashlight trembled in my hand. It wasn't standing in front of me. It was all around me. The darkness of the room wasn't separate anymore. The darkness was it. I knew that if I closed my eyes, it would come closer, so I kept them open, even though seeing it felt like pain. Sounds began inside my head, not words, memories, small moments, lonely nights. Sitting in the dark, thinking if only someone were here, suddenly I understood. It wasn't something external. It was created from inside me. I whispered, "You're not real." The room shook. My shadow on the wall moved, but I didn't. The shadow slowly separated. That was it. "I am your empty space," it said. "When you wanted someone, I was created." I shook my head. "I don't want you," it laughed, not a sound, pressure. "That's not your decision anymore." The air in the room suddenly grew heavy. My heart was pounding. I looked at the door. It was open, but beyond it was no longer my room, only darkness. I realized if I went back, I would be lost. If I went forward, I would have to enter it. I closed my eyes and said, "If you're a part of me, then I'll be the one to end you." Everything went quiet. I opened my eyes. I was back in my bed, morning, sunlight streaming in, everything normal, a dream. I sat up and went to the mirror. My reflection was staring back at me, but it smiled 1 second later. And in a very low voice it said, "Now I'm not alone." I never wanted to tell this story to anyone, because once you tell it, it starts again. But now I have no choice. It all began on a very ordinary night. No storm, no strange noises, just me, my room, and the silence of the night. The clock read 1:46 a.m. I was scrolling on my phone when suddenly I felt it. The air in the room felt different. Not heavy, not cold, empty, as if something had left. I looked around. Everything seemed fine. Right then, my phone screen went black. The battery was at 62%. Annoyed, I placed the phone on the side table, and an odd thought slipped into my mind. Had this room always been like this? I had never noticed. The corners of the room looked darker than usual, even with the lights on. The shadows didn't seem settled. My shadow on the wall looked slightly taller. It moved a little late. I stood up. My shadow stood up 1 second later. I froze. I told myself, just my eyes. Then I heard a sound from the other side of the door. Tap once. I looked at the door. No one had called out. Tap this time from inside the door. I slowly asked, "Who is it?" No answer. A few seconds later, a shadow appeared under the door. Not like human feet, too long, unnatural. I walked toward the door. Raised my hand to open it, but my hand stopped, because from the other side, someone said in a very low voice, "If you open it, I won't be able to get out." My chest went cold when I heard that. I don't know why, but I asked, "Where are you trying to get out from?" A pause, then, from inside you, I stepped back, moved away from the door. Suddenly, the lights in the room went out. Total darkness, but I wasn't alone in the dark. I could feel it. Someone was standing inside the room, not near the door, not near the window, right behind me. And that's when I understood this night wouldn't let me go, because this wasn't a beginning, it was a return. I couldn't turn my neck. I was certain someone was standing behind me, but I didn't have the courage to look. It felt like if I looked once, something would change forever. I could hear breathing in the darkness. It wasn't mine. The air in the room was moving, but the windows were closed. No gaps anywhere. Still, the breathing was coming from very close. I closed my eyes. That's when it spoke. "Can't you recognize me?" The voice was calm, not threatening, familiar, too familiar. I slowly said, "No." Someone chuckled softly in the dark. "You see me every day." I opened my eyes. There was no light, yet I could see it. It was exactly my height. It stood the way I stand. Only the face was blurred, like someone had erased it. I took a step back. It took a step forward. I stopped. It didn't. There was no distance between us now. I could feel it, no body heat, but its presence was heavy. "I'm not your shadow," it said. "I'm your empty space." Sounds began to swirl inside my head. Staying awake at night, being afraid for no reason, standing in front of the mirror and not recognizing myself. I whispered, "You're not real." It leaned toward me. "When you deny yourself, that's when I become real." Suddenly, the lights turned on. I was standing alone. The room was normal, no shadows, no sounds. Breathing hard, I sat down on the bed and held my head. Was it all imagination? I went to get some water, stood in front of the mirror, looked at myself. My reflection was normal. I smiled slightly. The reflection didn't smile. It nodded 1 second later. I stepped back. Inside the mirror, I was still standing there, but its eyes weren't like mine. Something had settled in them, unspoken words from a long time ago. A very soft voice came from the mirror. "You were the one who opened the door." I turned away from the mirror. The room door was open. I was sure I had closed it. Seeing the door open, my first instinct was to run, but my legs wouldn't move. It felt like if I took one step forward, something wouldn't follow me but take my place. The corridor was dark, but not like before. There was a rhythm inside the darkness. As if something was breathing slowly, steadily. I looked at the door and said, "Are you outside?" The answer came from inside. I was always inside. The words settled right in the center of my chest. I reached to close the door. The moment I touched it, it felt warm. Wooden doors are never warm. It felt like someone on the other side was pressing their hand against it. I pulled my hand back. Suddenly a scene flashed inside my head. I was standing in the corridor, but that wasn't me. It was it, my face, my eyes, but nothing inside. I screamed, "Stop this!" Silence. Then in a very calm voice, "You don't want to stop me. You just want to stop being alone." I realized it was right. I wanted to be alone. But solitude and loneliness aren't the same, and I had never understood the difference. The lights in the room went out again. This time in the darkness, only one thing was visible, my shadow. But the shadow wasn't on the floor, not on the wall. It was standing in front of me. It reached out its hand toward me. The fingers were long, unnatural. "Make a little space," it said. "You're always tired." A thought became painfully clear in my mind. I really was tired. Always. I closed my eyes. And then I felt it, not something entering me, but me pulling back. As if I was making room inside my own body. I opened my eyes. I was standing in the corridor. The light was on inside the room. Someone was sitting on my bed. Me. No, it. It lifted its head and looked at me. In my voice, it said, "You were the one who opened the door." I stood frozen in the corridor, my feet numb against the cold floor. Inside the room, the light was on yellow, calm, normal, exactly how an ordinary night should be. But the one sitting inside, that wasn't me. It was sitting on my bed, head lowered. Hands resting on its knees, breathing slowly, exactly like me. I grabbed the doorframe. "This isn't real," I said. My voice was shaking. The one inside lifted its head, my eyes, my face. But no exhaustion inside. "You always say that," it said, "when you can't handle something." I took a step forward. It stood up, same height, same posture, but its shadow fell toward me, not mine. "You'll stay outside," it said. "I'll stay inside." I shook my head. "No, this is my life." It smiled slightly. It was. Suddenly the door slammed shut. I pushed against it. It wouldn't open. Locked from the inside, I screamed, pounded on the door. From inside, my own voice replied, "Calm down, no one will hear you." The corridor lights went out. I stood alone in the darkness. But this darkness wasn't terrifying like before. It felt familiar, like I had been here for a long time. Time passed, I don't know how long. Suddenly the door opened. I ran inside. The room was completely normal. The bed was neatly made, the phone on the table, light reflecting off the mirror. I stood in front of the mirror. My reflection was normal. I let out a breath of relief. Then in the mirror I closed my eyes, but I hadn't closed mine. From inside the mirror, a soft voice said, "Now you're outside." I turned around. The door was open again. The corridor wasn't dark like before. There was light there. Life was going on, but no one was looking at me. I tried to speak. No sound came out. I tried to scream. No one heard. I understood then. I wasn't lost. I wasn't dead. I had just changed places. And the one inside, it's playing the role perfectly. Because even today, when someone looks at me and asks, "Are you okay?" someone inside smiles, and I just keep watching from the side of the mirror. I'm certain if this hadn't happened to me, I would never have believed it, because it didn't start suddenly. It came in slowly. Just like some things enter our lives and we don't even realize it. That night I was alone, a very ordinary night, no storm, no strange sounds, nothing. The clock read 12:58 a.m. I was lying on my bed scrolling through my phone when a notification popped up. Motion detected. I froze because I don't have any motion sensors in my room. I thought it was a mistake. But then the screen updated again, living space. I sat up. I had never set that name. I tried to open the notification. At that exact moment, my phone froze. The screen went black, no response. I put the phone aside and looked around the room. Everything seemed fine. But one thing felt different. The room felt slightly bigger. Not by much, just a little. The walls didn't seem to be where they used to be. The corners felt farther away. I stood up. The moment my feet touched the floor, I felt something strange, like the floor wasn't solid. Like it took a moment to accept my weight. I smiled, told myself, "You're imagining things." Then I heard it, footsteps behind me. I turned around, no one there, but the sound didn't stop, slow. Steady, exactly the way I walk. I took one step forward. Another step fell behind me. At the same time, I stopped. The sound stopped. My heart started pounding. I tried to speak, "Hello." My voice echoed back into the room, but mixed with it was another sound. The same voice, the same word. 1 second late, I held my breath. The room lights suddenly dimmed. Not completely off, just weaker, and that's when I noticed it, my shadow. It wasn't standing the way I was, it was standing with its head lowered, and its neck turned toward me. I didn't move. The shadow moved, slowly it lifted its head, and suddenly a thought became painfully clear in my mind. No one had entered this room, but something had come inside. I couldn't look away. The shadow was stuck to the wall, but not correctly. It wasn't falling where the light should have cast it. As if it was refusing the light, I slowly stepped backward. The shadow didn't move closer. But suddenly a very low voice reached my ear. "Why aren't you making space for me?" The voice wasn't coming from any direction. It wasn't floating in the air. It felt like it had slipped straight into the middle of my thoughts. I shook my head. No, this is just my imagination. The temperature in the room suddenly dropped. Every breath felt like fog, even though the heater was still on. I looked toward the window. There was nothing outside, literally nothing, no darkness, no light, just emptiness. As if the window no longer opened to the outside at all, I slowly walked toward it. There was no reflection in the glass, only the shadows inside the room. And among them, one shadow was looking at me. I stepped back. "Why are you looking at me?" The voice came again. Now I could understand clearly it wasn't speaking. It was asking questions. And with every question, something inside my head was shifting, making space. I shouted, "Who are you?" A pause, then a calm answer, "I am what you leave behind." Suddenly, I remembered many nights. Trying to convince myself, standing in front of the mirror and not recognizing myself. Telling myself I was fine when I was. The shadow detached itself from the wall. It stood in front of me. Now I could see clearly it had no face. Where a face should be, there was only dense shadow. and yet I knew it was looking straight at me. It slowly raised its hand. Its hand wasn't like mine. The fingers were long, too many joints. I closed my eyes. I thought something would happen, but nothing did. I opened my eyes. The lights were on. Everything looked normal. No shadow. Night outside the window. Breathing hard, I sat down on the bed. Was it over? Right then, my phone lit up again. A new notification, motion detected. This time the location read, inside you. I threw the phone. The screen shattered, but the notification was still glowing. The light cut through the cracked glass and into my eyes. Inside you. The words kept echoing inside my head. I placed my hand on my chest. My heartbeat was very slow, unnaturally slow. As if someone had deliberately slowed it down, I went to the mirror. This time there was a reflection. It was me, but something was different. I blinked. The reflection didn't. I opened my mouth. The reflection opened its mouth 1 second later. I whispered, "Are you still here?" Inside the mirror, the lips moved, but no sound came out. The sound appeared inside my head. I never left. The air in the room grew heavy. It felt like I needed permission to breathe. I stepped back. The me inside the mirror stepped forward. Suddenly, my hand began to shake. I tried to stop it, but my hand didn't listen. It slowly lifted. The hand in the mirror lifted too, but this time not together. It moved first, then I did. I screamed. No sound came out. My voice felt like it had already been used. The lights in the room went out one by one. The last light stayed on the mirror. I saw it. The me inside the mirror was smiling. I didn't recognize that smile. "You've been tired for a long time," the voice said. "I'm just helping." I shook my head. Tears rolled down my face. I whispered, "Give me back." The me in the mirror tilted its head. "Back." "You stepped aside yourself." Suddenly, countless memories rushed into my head at once. Sleepless nights, denying myself, standing in front of the mirror and not being able to meet my own eyes. That's when I understood. It didn't take me by force. I made space on my own. Cracks suddenly spread across the mirror. I stepped back. The me inside the mirror pressed its hand against the glass. And in that exact spot, a pain flared in my chest. Same place, same time. "One body isn't meant for two," it said. "You'll stay outside." The room spun. I collapsed to the floor. I lay there. My body didn't feel like mine, heavy but not under my control. My eyes were open, but everything around me felt distant. I tried to get up. I couldn't. There were sounds in the room, soft movement, breathing, the rustle of clothes. Someone walking naturally, in a very familiar way. I turned my head slightly and saw I was standing. No, it was standing in my body. It stood in front of the mirror, touching its face, tracing the corners of the eyes, the lips, the neck, examining everything, like someone with something new. It smiled faintly. This time the smile wasn't in the mirror. It echoed through the room. "It works just fine," it said. "It'll take some time, but I'll get used to it." I tried to speak. My mouth wouldn't open. I tried to scream. No sound came out. All I could do was watch myself, who I no longer was. It put on my clothes, picked up my phone. Looked at itself in the mirror one last time. Then very casually it said, "You were always very quiet. No one will even notice." It walked toward the door. The door opened. Light poured in from outside. I remained inside in the dark. The door closed. Click, silence. Time passed. I don't know how long. Then I realized I could stand, but stand where? The room was no longer a room. No walls, no ceiling, just a boundary like a glass wall. I looked ahead. I was outside. I was talking, smiling, working, speaking to people. Everything was fine. Perfectly fine. I placed my hand on the glass. It stopped outside. For 1 second, like standing in front of a mirror, it looked at me. Our eyes met. In a very low voice, it said, "Don't worry. I'll take good care of your place." Then it walked away. I stayed on this side of the glass. I'm still here. Because even today, when at night you stand in front of a mirror and suddenly think, "Am I really me?" In that moment, I'm watching from here and wondering, are you sure you never stepped aside?